What is up, humans of the cardboard, and welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today I am taking a look at a handful of cards that should have gotten a reprint way before now, and now we're just having just kind of some rough repercussions because we never got reprints, where maybe there were a lot of situations, well, you'll see, but there were a lot of situations where we got support and then these older cards never got a reprint next to that support or even near it. And so those old cards that are harder to get, harder to find, end up creeping up in price. So where better to start than here with Alien Kid? I cannot believe this card is $13, but mainly it's because we got Alien support earlier this past year. And not only that, but we've gotten a myriad of different reptile supports, right? We got Ogdoaddix introduced. It's probably the strongest reptile archetype we've seen to date, but also it seems to work with other reptile archetypes like aliens themselves. This card seems really good with the alien support. We got the boss monster could just search this card. So if you never used your normal summon to make that card, you search him, you normal him, and now you essentially have a walking skill drain on the field. Not too shabby. Now on top of that, we've also got more Ogdoaddix support coming early 2022. We also got Reptilianne support, and it's all kind of combining together, and seems to potentially maybe will lead to a decent combination deck. I've theorized with it before, but I still think we're getting more and more support, so it makes it hard to keep up with how good the deck can really be at any given point. But kind of annoying that this card is still when you get to near mint copies, you're looking at $18. That is insane, man. Next up, you also have Reptilianne Vasquez, kind of the same situation, right? We got Reptilianne support, got all this reptile support, and now this card, even though it's isn't this card a common? I want to say this card's a common. I don't where. I believe it's either a common or a rare. But this card is I can't believe we've got a rare now. That's first near mint copies are over $4 after shipping. Yeah, kind of tough, but not obviously not as bad, but also probably not as relevant as Alien Kid. And then the other one that's really kind of interesting to me, because I've been looking at picking up this card just for the future, just to have 4 Reptilianne decks. I think it's pretty good. It just banishes any reptile from grave to summon 2 tokens. There's no restriction. It's not a hard once per turn, and yeah, it just helps you spam the board really easily. So really cool card, but again, $5 for a near mint copy? That's kind of crazy. If you want a playset of this, you're dishing out $15. That's no joke. So Reptilianne Spawn also joins that club. Now we're gonna get to some serious ones, probably the biggest ones that we can put on this list as far as random cards. I'm not putting generic cards that need reprints. That's not the point of this video. We're doing more random shiz that we might have never thought would really need a reprint, because who cares? But now that stuff comes out that's new and it makes it more relevant, yeah, Rare Fish falls into that category. This card only had 1 printing before, and it was in an OTS pack, even though it was a common, but it's just insanely hard to find. We know how OTS packs can be. I mean, look at this. That's crazy. Look at that, man. Okay. And maybe this is because the emergence of sharks being a playable deck, right? Looks like you can find it for around 16, 17 bucks, but that is about as low as you can find them for right now. So definitely one of those you need to keep an eye on. Next up, Kuwagata Hercules, or Quagar Hercules. I don't know why I thought it was Kuwagata. Quagar Hercules. This one's even worse. This card is so old. This is a Tournament Pack 3 card. There was another, I think it had one other Tournament Pack printing, and it was a super rare. So that copy's $300 or $400, and now this one is $65. What's the lowest near mint? Can you even find a near mint? There you go, $80 for a near mint. That is insane for a rare? Sheesh. And all this is a ready fusion target. That's really all this is. Same thing with Rare Fish. They're just ready fusion targets. That is insane. Next up here, we move to some Fluffal stuff. Penguin definitely is a card that probably deserves a reprint. This card wasn't as important, or didn't seem as important at the beginning of Fluffal's reign, but now it's an automatic 3 of in every variant I've been seeing. First or second, this card seems to be something you want to make sure you have the ability to play, because its resource efficiency is crazy. Also can potentially facilitate Bahamut Toad plays as well, which is really cool. Next up is Frightfur Kraken. This card has just never been reprinted. That's it. It's a pretty good card. Even to this day, it's a pretty decent monster you can drop on the field. I believe it's got removal. I believe it's got the ability to attack multiple times, and it switches itself to defense vision, so you don't have to eat much damage on a following turn. So it's a decent card for sure, and just never saw a reprint, so hopefully that'll come at some point. And then Daredevil, I don't even know if Daredevil ever even like really sees play in the deck. Like, it's fine, it floats, and like it can inflict damage to your opponent, but that really seems to be mainly what he does. So I'm kind of surprised that he even has crept up this much. But Fluffals are like a fan favorite archetype, so I'm guessing it's just that combined with the fact that he's only ever had one printing, and it was in a duelist pack. So that, I guess, makes sense at the end of the day. Moving on here, we get to some random one-offs. There are a lot of archetypes that just have randomly one card where like all the rest of their stuff was either originally printed really low rarity and easy to get, or they just got reprints down the line. And then a lot of archetypes just have one card that, one, wasn't low rarity, and two, never got a reprint down the line. So we've got Dark Eclipser here. This card's almost at $12 a pop right now. Kind of crazy. One of the better boss monster ships next to the Dark Destroyer. So definitely want to keep an eye on. Almost everything else in the Kozmo archetype is pretty affordable now if you're okay with settling for low rarity, except for this card. So that is definitely something I'd like to see get a reprint at some point. Maybe an OTS common or a super or something. That would be kind of nice. Next up here, this one's kind of weird because this one is probably the newest card I have on the entire list here. It's Teardrop, the Rikka Queen. I get it. This archetype is like from mid last year, so the fact that it has a card that doesn't have a reprint isn't the craziest thing in the world. But this card's now like 20 to 25 bucks, and we've gotten stuff like the plant archetype. What is it called? Sonavalons. Geez, brain fart. But yeah, this card's a pretty good end board boss monster that actually is a pretty good one of in the deck, and it's something that you want to have your hand on because it is like generically makeable in other decks as well. So I think it's cool. I just think like, why? This could have easily been in the Megatins or Maximum Gold, and it actually dodged both, being the only card now that's actually expensive from any of the three archetypes, Eldritch, Adamancipator, or Rikka. I believe this is like now the most expensive card from any of those three archetypes as far as like low rarity or like, you know, affordability, which is kind of crazy. Really, really interesting. Next up here, this one's a pretty obvious one. People have known this for a long time. Spellbook of Fate. It only has two printings. It's original, I believe, ultra rare printing, and then it got an ultimate rare after that. Obviously, the ultimate rare is actually pretty, like, much more expensive than the ultra. But if you want to play something like Spellbooks, and this is what's crazy to me, if you want to play something like Spellbooks, which we haven't got anything other than like the Link monster, I get it. Dogmatica kind of helps, and that maybe like adds a little hype behind this, but still not too crazy, right? Like, it's still Spellbooks. Like, we could easily have this card get a reprint. I hope this card gets a reprint. Like, I would dance if this card was a common in an OTS pack. I think that would be so crazy, but it would just allow people that like wanted to play this deck for fun but didn't want to spend $50 just to get a playset of Fate to be able to play it. So this one's like a weird one to me that it still has been reprinted over so long. But like I said, a lot of these archetypes just have one card that just never got that reprint it needed. Speaking of which, Scrapyard is about the only scrap card left that needs a reprint. Chimera got the reprint. Wasn't there another card that was expensive that got a reprint? I can't remember. But obviously when Scrap Raptor came out, it obviously was pretty hype for that archetype, and so a lot of the stuff spiked. It has since come down since then. Scrapyard went up to almost like 20 bucks at one point, but still $8 for this card, and it's just the Searcher because it's only been printed once is kind of brutal. So it would definitely be pretty nice to get a more affordable copy of this card, especially since the engine is pretty splashable, right, for other decks. So that would definitely be really nice. And the last thing I want to touch on today is just some structure deck stuff. I love this structure deck just because I love Magnet Warriors, but all four of these, it's mainly these. Most of the other stuff was common, so this isn't a huge deal for that stuff, but it's mainly just the monsters because you got Alpha, Beta, Gamma, and Berserkion, all of which are around $3 to $4 a copy. Now, if you remember, structure decks are all $10 MSRP out the gate, or theoretically they should be, depending on where you're getting them. But from there, like now, just getting one structure deck and pulling these four cards out of it would immediately be what is, like, this is what, bare minimum, what are we looking at, 1150, like at least $15 just from these 4 cards. Kind of crazy. They've never been reprinted, even though we are getting Magnet Warrior support, and we've gotten a good amount of rock support over the years, right? Adamantipator really helps. We've gotten some Kawaki Miru support that's pretty nice, and some other generic cards too, like Gallant Granite, that also are pretty interesting. So I think this is pretty cool if we keep getting Magnet Warrior support, which, you know, who knows, right? We got one this year in 2021, and we're already slated to get one new monster in Battles of Chaos in 2022. So these could go up even further, especially if the older this set gets, the harder it is to find these cards, and if they don't get a reprint ever. So just something to keep in mind. But that's pretty much going to sum me up for today, guys. I want to hear from you in the comment section down below. What are any random cards that you can think of that are like just weird random cards that definitely should have had a reprint at some point and just it never happened, and you're kind of bummed because you found the archetype that, and you were like, oh, that'd be really cool. Then you're like, oh, but why is that card so crazy expensive? It sucks. So let me know your thoughts on that down below in the comment section. I will see you in the next one. Peace.